All right, Mike. Well, thank you for coming on and
Thank you for having me.
having a conversation here. Don't have a whole lot planned. I don't know a whole lot about you or what you do, so that's the whole goal here today.
Right on.
So my first question I was asking you before I started rolling was just a bit about Andolini's, how many locations you have, and kind of the whole operation, really.
Great. So Andolini's Pizzeria is currently at 5 locations, only in Tulsa, all owned by me and my brother. And the 5 locations started with the Wasso in 2005, so we just had our 21st anniversary last week, so January 8th. And then we have Cherry Street, which was our second location, Broken Arrow, which was our third, and then we also did downtown in the Blue Dome area with Sliced, which was more slice focused, but it's kind of become more like the other Andolinis in that sense. And then we also have Jenks on the Riverwalk, along with our food truck. Prossimo Restaurante is owned by us. We have our catering company, 2 locations at Mother Road Market that are food hall locations, Metropolis and Zaza's, another food trailer, and a location at the Tulsa International Airport called the Tulsa Flag Mart that sells Tulsa merch, but also has all the stuff I want before I go on a flight, so it worked out pretty well. And we operate that, which is actually kind of abnormal. Usually you will have a deal with the airport to run it, or a company to run it on your behalf at the airport, but we physically run that location.
So you staff it, you do everything.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's safe to say you do pizza.
We do
and
pizza.
you do it well. I know my wife and I, when we moved to Oklahoma, we live in Broken Arrow, but the first Andolini's we went to was on the Riverwalk, which is a really cool spot.
Yeah.
Just we got some pizza, we ate at a picnic table there, and then we walked across the bridge and kind of around in that area. It was really cool.
And that's what we want. We want people, when they come here, that we're associated with, like, oh, we're in Tulsa, what should we try, that we're in that conversation. That's always been one of our goals. And the food has to be not just impeccable, but different. I'm very proud of what we've created in that our pizza is a unique crust style. So it's akin to New York, but it's like, people are like, it's not New York, it's different. And we use an Oklahoma flour, New York style fermentation technique, but we get pretty avant-garde with the topping. So when people say, well, what style is it? I didn't feel comfortable calling it New York style. So I said, it's more than anything, it's our style, it's Tulsa style, because there was no other pizza place that started in Tulsa per se that was like creating that. So, there's other guys that are like, whether they're from Oklahoma City or in the cuts, but we started here and we are growing here, and all of our revenue is tax dollars back to this community. So being a part of the community and then doing something that's very unique and special with a lot of knowledge of pizza, without doing a brag of it, I'm a certified master trainer, pizzaiolo. I've been trained by the Italians. I took their program, and then I learned how to be an instructor in it, and learning all the nuance of fermentation style, and it's just made me a better pizza maker. But also then we take it and say, okay, how can we be better, Tulsans and better community builders, especially Broken Arrow? Like, how can we make this area better as a result of our location being here?
Yeah, no, that's super cool. And I think we could probably talk the whole time about different pizza styles and different types of pizza and all that. But I would really love to learn a little bit more of your kind of origin story. We don't need to go all the way back to your childhood, but I would love to just kind of hear, how did Andolini's as it was come to be? Was it always Andolini's?
Sure. So I'll do the quicker version. My family's lived all over America. Marine Corps family, my dad, so we've lived everywhere. A lot of New York. My parents are born and raised in Manhattan, and I lived in the Bay Area with my older brother, along with the East Coast. And then he is 15 years older than me, became vice president of Alamo Rent-A-Car. In Florida, they moved their base of operations from Florida, Fort Lauderdale, to Tulsa, technically Owasso-ish. And I was graduating at the same time from college, about to go to law school, which I did attend for 90 minutes and said, this is not for me. And Jim was like, well, do you want to just start a restaurant? And we opened, I'm 6 months out of college, opening a restaurant with limited restaurant knowledge, which I do not advise someone do. But we went into Owasso because in Owasso in 2004, Alamo Rent-A-Car, National Rent-A-Car, Honeywell, Verizon, Capital One. All these businesses were getting a massive amount of tax breaks to move to this business park on Lakewood Drive near Whirlpool and all that. So just an influx of 10,000 people, mostly from the East Coast. And it made sense. Well, this is an opportunity to do something that is not being serviced. And when I came to visit here my first time, that Owasso Chili's that's still there today had like a line 20 people deep to get into it because there was no restaurants at that time. Then we opened with a serviceable pizza at the time, maybe the best pizza in Owasso, but not more than that. And I made it my mission to not just know everything about pizza, because I have a poli-sci degree, but also everything about just how to build a business. So I made it my mission, and we got our ass handed to us really bad for a long time. And then it was like pure grit in 2007 during the financial crisis, where Owasso was just building restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. I think somewhere in the realm of like 40 restaurants opened, of which like 37 closed by 2010. Just everything. And there were things that were just going up and down. Big names, Fuddruckers, open and closed. Ruby Tuesday, open and closed. And we had to really have our game tight if we were going to survive. And we learned the hard way that you had to be all things to all people, in the sense of you have to fulfill the demo of the Lululemon mom and also the Collinsville dad simultaneously. You have to really be blue collar and white collar. And if you look at what survived, it appeals to that. Like Chick-fil-A, you could be a construction guy or you could be a Lululemon mom and want to eat there. Same thing for like Bricktown Brewery. But if you aren't one of those or the other, there was a restaurant at the time called Three Tomatoes and a Mozzarella, the next pizza place that opened up right after us. And it was like, we're going to do wine tastings and this. And it's just like too hoity-toity without the service standards, so it just immediately crumbled. And that was one of the first restaurants to close. So that's Owasso, and we had 6 years of Owasso just getting my ass handed to me. And then we kind of got good at it. I went and started training with the Italians on pizza making, completely revised the pizza recipe, got invited to compete internationally by inarguably, some people would say arguably, I say inarguably the greatest pizza maker in the world. His name is Tony Gimignani. I became friends with him. He took me under his wing. He wrote The Pizza Bible. That's the name of his book, Pizza Bible. He was on The Tonight Show he created every dough tossing trick that you see, more likely not he created, but then he's also the first and only American at the time to win in Naples. An American winning in Italy is like unheard of. They do not like Americans winning. So they like us competing with them. They don't like us winning. So I got trained by him, and our pizza recipe become significantly better. And then we started taking out, how do we get to the next thing? When we opened up Cherry Street, our whole financial being was on the line, and it was a toss-up, and it landed. And it was very scary, but it worked. And then after working so hard in the Owasso, Cherry Street was like fish in a barrel. And then it became, oh, you guys, because Cherry Street was not what Cherry Street is today. It was very middle of the road. It was just a bunch of scattered businesses. There was Kilkenny's, but it was not like, oh, let's go to Cherry Street. There's a few restaurants and a bunch of failing businesses. I mean, there was like a real estate building or a brokerage. It wasn't like a restaurant. So what Roosevelt's is now was a car wash, to put in perspective. So that hit, and then everyone was like, hey, instead of us begging to have a location, people are like, hey, come to our part of Tulsa and help us make this scene happen. Before that, to get on Cherry Street, we tried to take over a spot on Brookside and putting up a bunch of money to just get renderings to then not even get a call back. And we were negotiating another spot on Cherry Street to have it be a horrible contract that we could never make work. We were very much, people are like, oh, these Owasso dummies, we're going to take advantage of them. And me being 27 at the time, no one was really giving us the time of day. So, but when Cherry Street hit, Broken Arrow, who was redeveloping that whole Rose District, Main Street, aggressively came after us with builders, with all of it in tow. And again, what Rose District is now was not that at all. It was like driving to some random ass town in Oklahoma, and you'll see some empty Main Street, and you're like, what did this used to be? Well, that's what theirs was. And you could see slowly across the state, whether it's what happened in where's the Mercantile, like the Reed Drummond's Mercantile, like in I'm just blanking on it, but there's so many little main streets that are. Atoka has one now that, and I think they model themselves after. Oh, well, Broken Arrow was able to. I don't want to go as far as say gentrify, because it's not like it. It's just cleaned it up, like empty, gorgeous buildings, not made crappy. And we did that to Broken Arrow, and we were really excited to do it. But day one of that location was just annihilating. Like every single time we opened something, it was this. Oh, it's a Monday. It'll be like kind of chill. It was just like 100 people out the door. So we've been going ever since. That location opened in September of 2025. So that just had its 10-year anniversary, and we're happy that we've been able to be around this long, because most restaurants, 80% of restaurants won't last till year 5, and we're at 21 years.
Wow. So 2015 was the Rose District? Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So 10 years in 2025. That's exciting. Yeah, I mean, it's funny you say that about the Rose District, because I've only experienced it finished, and that was honestly part of a draw to the city of Broken Arrow moving here, is seeing that spot and coming down there, and we didn't eat at Andolini's, we ate at District Burger, another great spot there, but. I mean, it's fascinating that you say the amount of failure rate of restaurants, and I mean I've seen and heard like young people saying, I'm going to start a restaurant, I'm going to go into this, and I'm really just dumb. Like, it is a brutal, cutthroat industry. What do you credit your success to in regards to staying open? Just grit and perseverance, or was there a key for you?
That's about 80% of it. When we were opening, my grandpa, who has passed, was like, Michael, what are you going to do after the restaurant? Because coming from New York is like, you open a restaurant, you do this, you do your bar or whatever, and then it fails and you sell it or whatever. It's just commonplace. It's like, it's a fun, like, let's start a chess club. It's not something you're going to do for the rest of your life. Like, that's what, and I said, this is it. And my dad even said to me, okay, well, we got to think, though, when this doesn't work, what are you going to do? You going back to California? And my dad at the time was like in his late 60s, early 70s. Now he's 83. And I said, listen here, old man, this is the plan. Get on board. We are burning the boats. The boats are burned. We're attacking the hill. And if you are not attacking the hill with me, stay home. And then he's like, okay. And my dad's a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, retired, heavily respected, and he was like, I'll jump on Dish. And that helped too. Like, this, we're not gonna fail. If it's something, there's confidence and there's cockiness. I think we always had a healthy level of confidence to say, well, if those guys figured it out, why not us? Yeah. What else needs to be done? And then we really had the ability to pivot when the culture was, well, you need to have a buffet. Everyone wants a buffet. And also, it's like, okay, well, we'll just do unlimited pizza by the slice and salad at $5.99, and it worked. At the time, like, the cost of goods now is insanely different, but we were able to make that happen. And then there's just some stuff that was intrinsic that I'm no genius, but I was like, if we connect more, it'll land. Like, that's the advantage right now. So writing a letter to all of Owasso and then sending it to each like little pocket of people saying, hey, here's $5 to use in my restaurant. I actually live here. We live here. We care about Owasso. We care about you. We'd love if you checked it out. And then people came in. And then if we didn't suck, they might come in again. And it was that little level of awareness that started the trigger. And then when we got on the news, it was like, more good things happened, but it really was a conscientious effort to stay ahead of the pack. And we couldn't lean on, like, we have insane alcohol sales. A lot of great restaurant groups could just, if they're bars, it's a lot easier because people don't have 4 entrees, but they can have 4 beers. So as a pure restaurant, it was hard. And we didn't even have cocktails to start. When we got the cherries, we were able to add cocktails to it. And then this massive epiphany I had when I'm working at Cherry Street. I'm throwing dough on the line, and I see a couple walk in, and I'm like, they're lost. She's in a little black dress. He's dressed up because we're purely family fun, booths and a goofy cartoon character logo. And then they sat down like, oh, they're on a date. And I looked around like, oh, we built this place that looks like nice, because our Owasso location was like more kooky and not, but when we built Cherry Street, like, well, let's make it look like a nice New York bar, because that's comfortable to us. So a lot of wood. We had tin ceilings and a bar that we built, so it looked rustic and authentic, but it really only looked that way because we built it, because we couldn't afford anyone else to build it. So it's like it doesn't have under lighting and the more likely things that you would see at a modern bar. It was just, here's wood shelves, because that's what we went to Home Depot and got, because we built everything in that restaurant. We even tried to build the HVAC, and they're like, you can't legally do that. Like, well, we can't really afford anyone else to do it. And then we built it, and then they're like, you can't do that. We had to rip it all out and pay someone with the non-money we had. So that's it. And when someone else is like, the restaurant failure thing, if someone's like, oh, I want to do this as an investment, really, really dumb. If you're not going to live it, if your whole body and being doesn't say, I need this. Also, I was able to just give all of my 20s to it. Just live it, not take a day off. And I'm not saying that with hyperbole. Literally not take a day off. Make the dough at 5 a.m., come home at 10 p.m. And there were certain nights where I didn't come home. Something as stupid as changing the point of sale system's forced modifiers, like when you click pizza, then pepperoni options come up. Well, to change all those, it's not like it just was an easy computer. You would have to change it for every potential screen. So this became a 10-hour process whenever we did a price update or we added new pizzas for every conceivable page, the 20-inch page, at the time 18-inch page, 16-inch page, then the half page. So just changing all night. By the time I got done, it was 4:45, and I slept for 15 minutes on the ground and then went back. So that's grit. And I think the term grit is thrown around. And staying as the underdog, people are like, these guys, they're not, come on. Having that being underestimated has always, I think, worked to our favor. And especially when we were in Owasso, people would say, I have a pizza place in Owasso. Cool. I'm not going to Owasso. When we went to Cherry Street, like, oh, wow, you guys this is really good. And this was in Owasso? We're like, yeah. Oh, wow. So... And then when you open a second location, this fascinating thing happens. We're like, so you're going to close the first location? Like, what? We're like, well, you moved it. That's a phenomenon that was happening in the early 2010s. Like, people would move their location.
Really?
And we were just like, no, it's a new location. We're trying to build something here. And that's what we did.
And I guess unless that first location's struggling to try and move, you have a whole client base there.
Yeah.
Who's
totally.
like, hey, they left.
It's just there's a lot of things that people don't get when they're not in the industry with you that they'll make assumptions on. And people will just say, I come across a lot of restaurant owners at this point, and because our success is unique. We're an independent restaurant group with no venture capital, nothing, completely started by scratch, and we've built it up into something. Very rarely will you see that, where there's not like 30 investors and there's not you will not see it at all in New York City. Like, there's no way someone could open a restaurant in New York without it being a massive undertaking with tons and tons of investors. Mm-hmm. So us starting from nothing and doing everything that's made our success has been based on pure ingenuity and questioning the norms. And in a really weird, very inside baseball, in a basic sense, people are like, well, you have to do your dough this way. I'm like, well, scientifically, it would make more. This is a very, very inside baseball thing, but everyone uses plastic dough bins. It's just what you buy. You buy plastic dough bins. And we were like, well, the air would circulate better if we put racks into a refrigerator and put them on metal so that we could cold ferment the dough, because we know cold fermentation is going to give it a longer fermentation cycle. So let's put them on metal trays and wrap them in saran wrap as opposed to a bin. And no one was doing that. I still rarely see it, and it works better. Even then on the table for the customer experience. I despised that there was only 2 companies that made pepper and parm shakers. There's just 2. There's American Metalcraft and Winco. That's it. You could see a pepper and parm shaker at every single pizzeria, whether it's a high-end place or a place in the village, it's the same one. And I was like, I don't want people to have the same experience that they've had somewhere else. I want it to feel different. So before every bride in America had their rustic wedding with mason jars, I just went to Hobby Lobby and I stumbled upon some mason jars. And I was like, there's a jar. What can I find for a lid? I found a lid, like the banded lid. And I was like, well, what can I do for the holes? And I just had them made by a metal craft shop. Put the lids on, connected it with a bigger hole because I wanted, like, when you shake it that it actually comes out. And it was a new to you experience. Even like the thing that holds the pizza on the table, everyone has these very formulaic racks, and we thought, well, it would be nice if it was almost like a Lazy Susan that could hold the stuff on the bottom, but you could spin it. So if someone on the other side wanted a different slice, you could just spin the pizza. And thinking to that level of obsessiveness about each detail of the customer experience, from the door handle to the mat to what they see to the music they're listening to, along with what the servers are trained on. Then the food, like the food that everyone's like, oh, it's the great pizza. This is the pizza I love. Is the food is just the cost of entry into this business. It is the ticket in to the carnival, but it gets you on none of the rides.
Yeah.
HR, marketing, proper due diligence, financial awareness, aware of your repairs and maintenance, even just having a full protocol because there's about to be a snowstorm here today as we're filming this. We have a full protocol of like what we're going to do at each location, and there's no workbook that the SBA provides you or that the Chamber of Commerce is like, hey, when it snows, make sure you do this and make sure your staff is prepared and make sure here's your PTO sheets for staff and here's all that. Like, you have to just create that. And a lot of restaurants, or especially restaurants, are started by some chef-driven guy who's like, I make an impeccable steak. And my advice to them is, great, keep making that at home. Because this is a lot more than the steak at this point.
It's like good food is a bare minimum, and then like to stay open to any degree, you have to have at least decent food. But then the experience is why people talk about it. It's not just that you have good pizza. I'm not saying that your pizza is not incredible. But even like, so I haven't had the sit down in the restaurant experience, but the to-go box, it has, I mean, I would love it if you could talk a little bit about even the to-go box experience.
The details, so our to-go boxes are all full color, always changing, lots of artistic effort and design. And I want you, when you leave, I've worked so hard on this pizza. Our team has. We've curated this exact flour, this exact process. A 48-hour fermentation, slow rise. We're pushing it out by hand, not using a sheeter, not using a rolling pin, so it has natural airiness. We've curated the exact mozzarella. We've made a pizza sauce from the best tomatoes in the world that have been into a very specialized recipe where the acidity has been allowed to calm for over 24 hours, so it's perfect on this pizza. With a pepperoni that we have worked to specifically choose from someone that has a spec exactly for us. Across the board, everything we've worked on. So then just sending it out and like, here's a box, felt bad. So I was like, what's the most over-the-top pizza box I could find? So I got with this company out of Australia and just worked to do a bunch of art. So all of it's also us. Like, I love Van Halen. I love the Eddie Van Halen's guitar, so the 20-inch pizza box is that. We thought it was any stupid, crazy idea that we come up with, we just do. That's the beauty of owning a restaurant. I think it's the inverted issue, is that when you own your own business, people so desperately try to fit in. Like, oh, I should put photos on the wall of Italy, and I should play, like, mob hits. And it's like, do the hyper version of you. The food should be a spin on it in your way. Otherwise, they can get a caprese antipasto everywhere. What's yours? They can get another cheese slice anywhere. What's special about yours that it's going to be so different? So these pizza boxes are, we've done like 3 iterations of them. We have a Grinch box for Christmas. We have the Louis Vuitton box that, because it's parody, we can't get sued. Very aware of that. The inside of the box has you rip off the top and it becomes a bib, so you have like a cartoon experience on it. We started doing parodies of album covers, whether it was Dr. Dre's The Chronic and Taylor Swift and The one box that no one's understanding is the Velvet Underground featuring Nico with the banana on it. It's like a very known album, and we did it with a pizza slice, and people aren't putting together that that's what that one is. So we just keep doing things, and then we put Easter eggs everywhere in the restaurant so it feels special. In-N-Out is very good at this. Buc-ee's is very good at doing it, an Easter egg that makes the experience something, because that's all we got. We have to, if any restaurant, especially independent restaurant, tries to compete, or like, hey, we're cheaper than Domino's. Like, you're not going to, they are buying an artificially produced cheese that they are buying millions of pounds of. There's no way to compete on a business level. We make less money per pizza than the big boys. So we have to price it accordingly and then lean in heavy on experience. When you buy a DeMarco of Brooklyn, it's being brought to the table. The best, San Marzano tomatoes, fresh mozzarella that we stretch in-house, Pecorino Romano that we've imported from Italy, basil that we're ripping onto the pizza, extra virgin olive oil from the Puglia region of Italy, all these things. Then we pour the olive oil one more time right in front of you at the table, not just for the swag of it, but also because it just tastes that much better when it's right on it at that moment. So everything we can do and will do has to be predicated upon that, oh my God, this is awesome. Because if someone goes to a restaurant, here's the hardest lesson, the biggest lesson I've learned in business and the restaurant industry especially. If I would ask anyone listening to this, think about the last restaurant you went to. And then if your friend from out of town came into town and said, hey, let's go out tonight, and they said, let's go to that restaurant, and you had just been there 5 days ago, would you respond, we were just there. It's fine, but let's go somewhere else. And then that you, as this person who lives in this town, is thinking about going there again. You're like, yeah, but I was there. It's fine, but let's try this other thing. If everything went according to plan, you got your drink on time, you got your check on time, the food was completely serviceable, but you're like, it's fine, but let's go somewhere else. That is just as bad as you had the worst time ever, you're never going back. Because in both scenarios, this restaurant is getting zero new revenue. So mid is the same as horrible. So if you're not impressive, by default, you are unimpressive. And you're like, well, I'm not unimpressive. I'm like, yeah, you are by default unimpressive. You did not impress the brain. Therefore, you're mid. Therefore, you're on a path to death. And that's why if anyone doesn't have the best experience possible, didn't love everything they ate, I have a 100% money back. Like, if you don't love what you had, I'll comp it. Because I'm not living in the single visit business. I'm living in multiple. I need to be part of your life for this to work. So if it doesn't work, I'm like, try something else. I apologize, or I'll correct, or I'll look on cameras, or I'll talk with the managers of what did not go according to plan. Because serving anything less than impeccable is not what we do. And I don't believe that anyone could have the DeMarco Brooklyn pizza and not be like, oh my God, that's the best. That's awesome. Yeah. And if they, like, if someone was like, likes pizza, they have no aversion to gluten, no aversion to mozzarella, and they had that, and like, I would, and the way we make it properly, and they didn't love it, I would say you don't have a soul. Like, I could go that far and say that. I'm not a cocky man, but I could say it on that. Like, that pizza is the coup de grace of all things pizza.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, I hadn't really ever thought about it like that way with restaurants, but I mean, I think about it too, where it's as good as saying I had a bad experience, because oftentimes you'll try somewhere, and if it is mid, like you said, I'm not going back. I'm probably never going to have it again. I'm going to go somewhere either that I know delivers a consistently like decent food, or I feel like there's not really an in-between. It's either just super consistent, you're not really going for the experience, or if the food's not great and it's a spot you try, like I think we make exceptions more so for like a fast food or for a place like that, because we're not going there with the expectation of this is going to be the best food I've ever had, like this is going to be the best experience. We know what we're getting, and they consistently give you what you want, right? But if it was a pizza place and it has prices like you guys have, which you have to have, which is cheaper than or more expensive than a Domino's or a Pizza Hut, and you have a mid experience, I mean, you couldn't justify going back. Like,
and again, it's if everything goes according to plan, like it was fine. it's fine. Fine is our F word. It's our biggest F word. If a server is like, hey, what's going on with that table? They're like looking around. I just talk to them. They're fine. I'm like, no, they're not. Or at least I'm not until we get it to their point that they're like, oh, like, this has been awesome. Again, fine is death. And anyone that's married knows what fine means. Like, what's going wrong? I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. Like, that's same rule applies to a restaurant. Again, I can't emphasize enough. It's not even bad. It's just not great. And therefore, it sucks. Mm-hmm. And that's the failure rate. That's what it boils down to. And then there's very few and far between. I've seen restaurants that are like, oh, this food is awesome. Their menu is just priced. Not even just the pricing, it's just like set up incorrectly. Or they don't have their finances and they run out of money. Or they're good, but they don't know. They think the food should do all the work and they barely even have like a website or they're online ordering. It's super hard to understand. Like that happens for a lot of the independent restaurants. And it happens for business too. Like how often do you just like want to give a business money and they make it hard? Mm-hmm. It's very often. And there's so many options now that if you don't make it stupid easy, people are just moving on. Whether it's food, whether it's even like calling a plumber. It's like, oh, hold on, we'll call you back. You're like, okay, hold on, I have like 30 other plumbers I could reach out to right now, so I'm not going to go with you. So in all things business, we have to do that. And I'd say, going back to Broken Arrow sought to be impressive day one. Their Chamber of Commerce does not act like a Chamber of Commerce. Their city does not act like a typical city. They went hard in the paint to get that Rose District. People don't even realize this. It is an open container street. Like it's like Vegas. You could like walk on the street with alcohol. Like, not many restaurants take them up on that because it's just like a pain in the butt, and you want to keep people at your location. But that's how far they made to make that little nugget of Oklahoma have carte blanche to do what they needed to do to make it a scene. And usually when you have a municipality, they're the ones like, well, hold on, this is too far from the street, blah, blah, blah. They were like, what else do you need? What can we do? We're here. What they advantageously were aware that if they want to build more and more complexes, they needed to have a cultural mecca that people are going to get on board with for restaurants. And that's what the Rose District is and became. And I think that they've accomplished that. And we're very, very stoked to be a part of it.
So as someone who is an insider in the Rose District, you now have a business there. You see it firsthand. What do you think the future is of the Rose District with development? And I know I've seen some turnover even since I've been here with places there. But even there have been times where I'm in the Rose District. I'm like, why isn't this busy? Like this should be busy. Like I love that they can shut down the streets and have events and do all these things. I guess just from an insider perspective, anything you could pour onto the Rose District.
It's pretty unheard of for that street to not be busy, walkable, going off on a Friday or Saturday night. Yeah. It's always going to be that. And the rest of the week, you just have to be cognizant that this is a bedroom community. Like a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, people are at school, people are at their job, they might be in Tulsa. We'll always have a ton of to-go orders, which, again, going back to having our online ordering tight, is going to fulfill that. But if you walked in, you're like, well, this street's kind of like not popping tonight. Again, it's a bedroom community, so we have to monetize on multiple sides, whether it's catering, whether it's online, and doing that very well and having easy drive up. If you are picking it up, we have a very, very easy to drive pickup location where you just drive in, we'll walk the pizza out, so you don't have to get out of your car, especially when you have kids and all that. That's the work that has to be done too. And to survive on that street, you rent is not cheap. So when you have something that has a lower price point, it is harder. So let's say if it was like a dessert place or a cupcake or whatever, it's like, oh, this cupcake's amazing, $5. You have to sell thousands of cupcakes, which it becomes a tonnage issue. And let's say 10 people could fit in the place at any time before it starts to feel too cramped. It's just a math game at that point. So it's hard in that sense. If you have, again, a bar, significantly easier because someone could just sit and have 6. Well, hopefully, they're not getting completely hammered, but the notion is they could do multiple purchases, while a dessert or a cafe is less likely for that, which is going to cause turnover. And then if you're just selling, a single-use item. Like the bike shop closed. And again, it was an awesome bike shop. But again, how many bikes can you sell to afford the rent? So something that's going to survive on the street is going to have typically a bar component or a big call to action or a way to have the average ticket value per customer at a level that's commensurate with the rent of that street.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a whole lot of sense. Well, this is going to be, I mean, a little bit dated to today, but I am curious. You say you're prepping for your protocol for the severe weather that's coming in. I would love to hear a little bit about that, especially from a perspective of a former Minnesotan.
Well, I mean, it's, just don't leave things to chance. So from a safety perspective for the customer, what are we going to, does every store have salt? Does everyone understand the expectation of where to put it? Are we staffed? Are we ready for tomorrow? Our rule is if we can drive our trucks, four-wheel drive trucks on the road, we will find a way to be open. Now, I want to really caveat that. We don't want anyone that's not able to get to work or to be unsafe about it. We will drive people to work. And here's where that stems from. It's not out of some greed level. On the inverse, when we had something happen in 2007. There was an ice storm here in Tulsa. And in the 2007 ice storm, everything the power lines were going down. And by the grace of God, Owaso's restaurant did not have that happen. And we became the only thing open in town. And then it was just a blitzkrieg of business, like people coming in left and right. And then we were doing delivery without DoorDash didn't exist, online ordering didn't exist, and we're getting people calling in, hey, could you deliver to me? But older people, like, could you pick up something at Walgreens on the way there? Because Walgreens had generators and they were open. So it was like just us and Walgreens. I don't even think Walmart was open. And we found ourselves like, oh, this is what our mission is, to be open, to fulfill the need of people who need food, who don't, whether it's because they're just tired or sad or they don't know how to cook. And so if we can turn on the lights, we will be open, became our mission that day. And it's been that ever since. So with the mission at hand, it's get people into the restaurant, prepare for an outage, have generators if we can for those locations, depends on the location, be prepared for closing if we can't, and again, make it as safe as possible with salt and all the things that we need to make sure that customers are not challenged to get product from us.
Cool. No, that's awesome. I'm trying to think if there's anything else about the Broken Arrow location I want to hit on, but I mean, this question is usually pretty easy to answer. But how can the Broken Arrow community support your new location, support Andolini's?
It's really easy, just eat pizza. And let me take that point further. We do a lot of charity stuff, but we don't talk about it. We did one yesterday, and I'm talking about it because we want more people to know about it and do it themselves. So every time we've ever done we get hit up all the time for donations. And I consider donations and charity two separate things. A donation might be like, hey, will you give us a gift card for a raffle so that we can send our kids on a paintball tournament? Or like, all right, this has nothing to do with the impoverished. This is just, and if we can help out, we will. So we'll give the raffle, gift card, whatever it is. We went and said, well, how can we get everyone involved? And for a while there was like, donate socks or give us a toy for Toys for Tots. And that's all well and good. But then it's just so much, people are like, I just want to come to you and eat. So we said, here's the thing. If you buy a DeMarco through December and all the way till our anniversary in January, we will take every DeMarco sold and then apply that revenue towards going to buy warmth items. And then we got all the revenue, and then I went to Costco and filmed it saying, here's how easy this is. Buy a jacket, buy a blanket, and then donate it to citylights.org. And citylightsok.org is a non-profit that actually lives it. Most donations that we come across, most charitable donation organizations are 80%, monetizing to pay all their board of directors or whoever it is, and then 20% gets donated. We want to align with real charity that doesn't take nearly anything, sometimes 0%, and definitely less than 30%, which City Lights is. So instead of selling these clothing items to someone to resell and then the money being donated, if we went and bought blankets, jackets, gloves, those are going to be given today to people who are showing up to City Lights. Like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be safe through this snowmageddon, and it's going to go on their backs. So that's our call to action today: is be as open as much as possible. Take the revenue to support orphans and homeless or those in need, and then just keep doing it. And it seems the more we do it, the more we do well. So how can people in Broken Arrow support us? Buy pizza. Because when you buy pizza, we're going to do something good with it. Your tax revenue is going back into the city. You're employing more people in your town. We're going to make it a safe place for your kids to work, or for your sons and daughters in their 20s or even their 30s, whatever it is. That's another big point of pride for us. We always were the safe place for kids to work. Chick-fil-A as well. Not all places are. A lot of places the kids go in, everyone's like going to the back room, getting high, and they're like, oh, why did I should have had my kid just stay home. We never want to be that. So across the board, we just want to exist with you. We ask nothing more than you enjoy the food. And if you don't love it, tell me. If you have a mid experience, say so. We are not going to be perfect every day of the week. We do have a young workforce. They are learning, especially Broken Arrow. It's not the easiest when you have like high school kids who sometimes they're super into it. Sometimes it's an extracurricular activity. It's easier with career servers. I don't say that to sway anyone left or right, but we want to have the pizza stand up on its own, the service be impeccable, and the ambiance be something that feels inviting and warm and that you want to come back to.
Awesome. Well, that's a pretty easy call. Everybody just go and buy some Andolini's pizza. It can be self-indulgent, and you're also helping your Broken Arrow community. So thank you for the conversation today, and we'll be wishing you the best of luck in the snowmageddon.
All right, very cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.